a pleasure to have another wonderful guest here with us today, who is an award-winning executive coach and international speaker who helps high performers turn pressure into power. With 3 decades of experience across entrepreneurship, education, and business leadership, she works with founders and executives who are navigating high-stakes environments. As the founder of PressurePoint and recipient of the Rising Authority Award, Shairose equips leaders to transform their most difficult moments in their strongest advantage. It is certainly a pleasure to have our special guest here with us today, Shairose Gulamani. Welcome, Shairose.
Thank you, Allison. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Excellent. All right. Now, Shairose, you work with individuals or clients who consistently have to operate under pressure. What's one of those moments you can think about from one of the experiences that you have had that showed you how much pressure can be turned into power?
Sure. I will actually use a personal experience story. Over the years, I've scaled multiple businesses, and one such business was our cafe, Vovito. And one morning, we had our crepe master absent. He didn't show up. And so the staff, I can see customers lining out outside. I can see staff looking at me, wondering, what are we going to do? And I keep thinking in my head, what now, what now, what now? But I knew that in that moment, before I could fix anything, I had to ground myself. So I went upstairs to my office. I took a deep breath. I felt my feet on the floor, and I made a decision that no matter what happened next, I was going to be the calmest person in that room, in that cafe. I came downstairs and put on an apron and went behind the counter and started making crepes for the first time in my life. And that was only possible because I now had clear thinking. If I had reacted differently and started to panic or being reactive in my decision making, I probably would not have made that move. I probably would have maybe suggested to the staff, no crepes today. The customers would have been unhappy and we wouldn't have been able to continue. But by doing that, I was able to, by the end of the morning, serve 40 crepes. They weren't perfect, but they were good enough. And the customers were happy. My team was calm because I stayed calm. And this is what leaders need to understand, that when we are faced with challenges or pressure points, that we have to be able to stay grounded inside of that pressure point. If we start panicking, our reactive brain takes over. And neuroscience proves that when stress builds up, our body floods with cortisol and adrenaline, and our reactive brain has the control, and our thinking brain, the one that makes good decisions and good judgment, is pushed aside. And we don't want that to happen. So just taking a moment to pause, name your feeling, name what you're thinking, what your mind is thinking, what your body's feeling, and then making a decision, choosing, makes all the difference. It's a game changer.
Certainly is, and some really deep points that you have given us there to think about, Shairose, from your personal experience. You have shared and you have allowed viewers, or listeners to realize just how much they are actually able to cope with consistent pressure. So I definitely appreciate the variations that you have mentioned there. Now, when a high performer starts to crack under pressure, what's that first sign that you look for in your professional experience that tells you that something more substantial or something deeper is happening?
Yeah. The pressure that most leaders carry or high performers carry, they first have to realize it's not a proof of weakness. They've done nothing wrong. They're not the ones to blame. That pressure is not a failure. Pressure is part of life, and it can either break you or it can build you. It can be the best thing that happens to you because it allows you to grow, to dream, to fulfill what you have set out to do. So pressure is not necessarily a bad thing. It's only works counterintuitively for ourselves when we don't are not aware of the pressure and we don't know how to manage it and carry it well. But once we figure out that we are in a moment of pressure, taking that moment to rest, recover, and recalibrate what's not working is the key. Because when we can do that, we build trust amongst our team members. We create a state or energy level that is calming, that is confident, that is clear. And when we do that, everyone around us feels that energy. And just like calm is contagious, so is panic. So let's not choose that.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. And what's one practical action that you would recommend a leader can take in the middle of, let's say, a high stakes moment when they want to regain control and utilize that pressure to their competitive advantage?
Yeah, so one of the things that I have learned over the years working with leaders, being in business myself, is that pressure amplifies whatever state you're already in. So if you're already in panic, pressure will take that another level up, right? So we have to regulate our nervous system. Neuroscience teaches us that our minds and our bodies work together. When we are anxious, when we are telling, our mind is telling our body we're in a, bad things are happening, it gets into threat mode. And when it gets into threat mode, it shuts off our thinking brain and our reactive brain comes up. And our reactive brain does not make good decisions, does not use good judgment. And so if you're in a situation where you're in a high stakes environment, you know that there's a lot riding on this, that pause is absolutely essential. That pause is necessary and it's going to reward you because a calm operator makes clean decisions. And an operator that is flooded with panic makes expensive ones. We don't want that in business.
Amazing, amazing, Shiros, and it's really wonderful the way that you were able to take that negative scenario and help our listeners or our viewers to see how much negative situations can actually be transformed into positive experiences once we have that the right approach. So I'm happy that you have shared that with them.
Yeah.
Fact, you wanted to say something else?
I was just going to add that, this doesn't just happen by magic, right? And it's not like, oh, I'm in a pressure, I take a breath, and everything's okay. It doesn't work like that. What we're doing, though, by every time we take those moments to acknowledge the pressures that we're feeling, to be more mindful about them, more intentional about them, we're building our resilience. And that resilience is not endurance. We've been sold this idea that toughing it out is the strength, and it actually isn't. Calm is the strength, right? Endurance just delays the crash, the eventual burnout. Real resilience is in the rest, recovery, and the courage to recalibrate when something isn't working. That's where resilience truly is. And my core philosophy has always been resilience is how pressure becomes your power. Because, yeah, absolutely. We're all human, and the pressure is inevitable, right? It's the recovery that's going to make the next push sustainable. And when that recovery is not built in, sustainability is not possible.
Yes, definitely, definitely, Shiros. And it's amazing for those who will be listening and viewing to, adapt these practical strategies into their everyday lives, whether it's be their personal lives or their business or professional lives. Now, what's one moment that you can think of where you've seen a leader or a client reframe pressure and everything about their performance change? Maybe it's something that they have shared with you that you can relate.
Sure, I can't share an exact story for confidentiality reasons, but I can certainly give you examples, right? When a leader needs to make a decision and it's impacting not only his own situation or business portfolio, but it may be impacting its teams, right? And a lot of people are dependent on him, and the decision he makes affects the organization and everyone in the organization. That's a huge pressure.
Mhm.
But what you have to know is that when you try and wait for certainty, which is what I see often, leaders are nervous, they're scared, they don't know what to decide on. They keep second guessing, right? They go into this loop of undecision. And when they start doing that, because they're waiting for certainty, the pressure actually keeps building because pressure doesn't wait for certainty. In fact, the best action to take is to pause, name what you're feeling, and then choose. Remember, you're not choosing the best solution or the best option. You're choosing what's best now. What's the next best thing you can do, not the perfect thing you can do. And by choosing the next best thing you can do, you are forcing the reactivity that's happening in your mind to
Yeah.
stop. You're able to now think clearly. You're able to be more strategic in your decision making. And you are now choosing an action. And when you choose to take action, confidence follows. People think confidence comes first and then action. But more often than not, it's the other way around. And pressure does not wait for certainty. You're going to have to act when things are not certain. You're going to have to make a move, especially if you're the leader and everyone's looking up to you, right? Because those are hard times and hard decisions to make, but they're necessary.
Awesome, great, amazing. And that is especially needed. What you have shared is especially needed for this particular year that we're in that requires so much alertness as it relates to understanding pressures. So you have really brought out different patterns of pressure and how to identify these. Now, as we are getting closer to our final question, for those leaders who are listening and they might feel a bit stretched thin right now, what's one message that you would want them to walk away with today?
Yeah, thank you, Alison. I'm really glad you asked this question because one of the things I see often with the clients that I deal with is knowing the difference between what is yours to carry and what is not. You do not have to carry everything. And under pressure, leaders try to grip everything, and that is what drains them. So, naming what is actually in your control and pouring your energy there helps you to stop spending yourself on what was never yours to hold. And that's such a powerful shift. And when that happens, you are less, you feel the less burden, less burden is upon your shoulder. You feel a load lightened. And it's that mindfulness of really paying attention and being intentional about what is yours to carry and what is not. And once you do that, you're able to better manage what is truly in your control in a way that serves you rather than drains you.
Excellent there, Shairose. Excellent. And in our final question or reflection, are there any other practical solutions that you have particularly found helpful over your experience? I know that you have certainly mentioned a lot, but what's that one thing that you would want our viewers or listeners to remember or to think about
Yeah.
too?
I think the biggest advantage that leaders can have and high performers can have, that all of us can have, because pressure is not, it doesn't decide who it goes to. Everyone has it, right? In whatever way it shows up, is just create the awareness. Really listen and pay attention to your body and mind working together. Know that your nervous system is not there to harm you. It's not there to hurt you or to make things fail for you. It's there to support you. But in that reciprocal relationship that you have with your nervous system, you also have to do your part. Our bodies were never meant to carry loads and loads of pressure. That's what I call the allostatic load. It was never meant to carry that. There's always has to be room built in for the rest, recovery, and the recalibration. And when we're able to take the weight we're carrying and have a place to put it down, it helps our nervous system. It acknowledges that we are not constantly on. We can turn off. We can find joy. We are able to reach our dreams, and we're able to do it in a sustainable way so that the pressure that we're feeling is not going to break us. It's going to build us. And one of the things that I tell leaders is when you take the time to really pay attention to your body
Yes.
and you do what I call the maintenance, and I use the metaphor of a car, you would never not top up the oil or fill it, put in the gas, or do a servicing on a car because it needs it. It needs it to operate at its prime level, right? It needs to, at its optimal level. It needs you to take care of it. Well, how is your body different? How are you different? You need those things. And so I have introduced this thing with my clients where I call self-love shots. And I said, every day you need a minimum of 3 self-love shots, at least. You can do more, because if you can do more, that's even better. But what they are essentially is just making time during the day for you to step away, to go for a walk, be in nature, have chocolate, phone a loved one, hug somebody, listen to your favorite music, dance like you don't care. Whatever it is that makes your heart smile. Because when your heart is smiling, your body is in a good place. Your nervous system can breathe and doesn't feel threat. But if you never do that, if you're always constantly on, at some point, that pressure is going to leak into your health, it's going to leak into your relationships, and it's definitely going to leak into your performance. And so my hope is that people don't get that far and that they realize and increase their awareness of their pressure points long before that happens. And so I actually have a gift for all your listeners.
Yes.
I've created what's called the pressure test, and it is a comprehensive questionnaire of 25 questions that allows individuals to see where their pressure points are, what is draining them, what is serving them, and what is costing them. And this pressure assessment is one other way of just increasing your awareness of what it is that you're dealing with so that you can better carry it. Because the weight that you are carrying does not have to destroy you. You are stronger than that.
Definitely. Wonderful, Cheryl. And this has been a real wealth of experience, of guidance, solutions that you have shared here today. And I want to say thank you so much for taking the time out to join me here on my podcast. It is an absolute pleasure. I appreciate it. And I do look forward to connecting with you in future and find a way to get those that free gift out there to my listeners and to my viewers. I'm certain they will appreciate it. This has really been an immense pleasure. Thank you so much, Shairose.
Thank you, Allison. I really appreciate this conversation, and I really value that people are making this something to bring out to the forefront and are talking about it, because for many, many years, leaders have lived in a pressure state, feeling very alone and very isolated and not knowing what to do. And pressure is not something that we are alone in. It is happening to all of us. And the more that we, collectively learn how to manage it better, it's going to really start working for us instead of us bracing against it.
Exactly. And that's a love self note right there.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Thank you so
absolutely.
much, Shairose. I appreciate
Thank you.
you.